How are you guys doing?
Good. How are
Very
you?
I
good.
am good. I'm good. So, wanted to ask, starting with Malcolm, because your role is, it's kind of an interesting relationship from meeting young Aretha early on when she was, I guess like a preteen, and then becoming her husband and manager. Watching her that day and seeing that talent, do you think that Ted's the love for her talent and attraction to her talent was a big part of why he ended up, I guess, falling in love with her.
Yeah. So I kind of yes, right? Because when you see him, he's even with Dinah Washington, who's
Mm-hmm.
another icon, right? So Ted has a habit of being in relationships with some of the most iconic singers of our time.
Right.
Not our time, but in American history. Um, so I don't know how much meeting her as a child affected how he felt about her once they got to adult age, but
Mm-hmm.
I know her talent in general is definitely something that affected his love for her. He's considered to have a stable of women or of singers and people within his sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And Aretha Franklin was exactly that, and why he was invested so much in her life and her talent, even when she was struggling.
Even when she was struggling. I also wondered, even with him being extremely jealous and overprotected, if that was a sign of him being afraid that someone was going to get next to her and be able to kind of get her from under his thumb as far as the talent, or if it really was, this is my wife and it's more I'm jealous of a romantic feeling. I couldn't kind of decipher if he was more protective of her talent or of her as a woman.
I think he was protective of both. And I think ultimately what led to the demise of their relationship is how high on the totem pole he wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
not just in terms of their relationship, but in music as well. And I think, by the time that she outgrew that, it made sense that they would depart. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Do you think he was protective of her in as like a meal ticket too? Do you think he was cognizant of that?
uh, I think he was cognizant of that.
A
I
little
think
bit resentful maybe that he could not, I can't go here, so I can kind of hitch myself to this person and experience it vicariously in a way where I still have control.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at Ted, he always kept a bunch of talented women that he liked to control around him, right?
Mhm.
And that is how he garnered his power. That is how he garnered success. I mean, and in the same way, I'm relatively sure he doesn't have too many writing credits outside of on Aretha's songs.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to an extent, it very much was his in to that. I have a friend who talked about how she grew up and would be friends with a child, and she would see the records on the wall with his name and Aretha's name, um, and she was always wondering why he wasn't happier
Mm.
with that sort of a background, which for me was a fuel, not to color the character, but it created an arc of where he might go. You know
Mm.
what I mean? It gave me a room of going, he was happier here, and what happened along these lines that created resentment in his older age.
Yeah. Well,
I
David, I'm a huge fan. You did a great job in this. I wondered if you had a chance to really kind of explore that chemistry that a producer and an artist have to have, especially when the artist is of that level and the producer is able to see that there's so much more um, potential there, and is able to bring that out. How do you explain just that relationship and that chemistry that has to border outside of professional and becomes very personal and very intimate and probably familial in a way?
Well, exactly. I think we were lucky to be able to do that over spread out over 8 episodes.
Hmm.
Because when you do meet, and we shot sequentially, so when they do meet each other, and there's flashbacks and stuff, but they have a much different relationship than they do in a third of the way through and half the way through and then at the end, and it only deepens and strengthens as it goes along. And Aretha was a very strong woman back when they met, and she only got stronger and stronger. and more independent, you know.
Right.
And so it was, uh, as actors, it's nice to be able to find those moments, let them breathe, let them grow, and you know, you're not cramming everything,
Yeah.
you know, into a half dozen scenes over a
Right.
90-minute movie, you know.
He seemed really fascinated with her talent when we saw them meet initially. He seemed just completely fascinated by who she was.
Yeah, he knew. I mean, Jerry Wexler was deep in that world too, and that's what he was involved with before he was even in the business. He would be going to those clubs and listening. He coined the term rhythm and blues. That was Jerry Wexler, and that was his love and his passion and his gift, you know, for producing that stuff, and then ultimately like managing her. Because you know that business, as we know, is filled with a lot of predatory men, and he was very protective of her, and there was kind of a bit of a father older brother type relationship between the
Mhm.
two of them. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you. You guys both did a great job. I really enjoyed the series. Thank you so much.
well, thank you.
Thank you.